Hello, the Project Bag Company is pleased to announce that normal service will now resume. We return to your regular podcast. On the show for you this week, we take a look at my whipboard because so many of you have asked. I have a finished object or two to share with you. Some are mine, some might not be, but you know, I'll take it. We also talk cutting knitting. I had my first experience with afterthought heels recently. I'll show you how I got on. And I share with you what I've been up to in the last however long, including some acquisitions and one that I am probably a little bit too excited about. Hello and welcome to the Project Bag podcast. I'm not going to say what episode number it is because I don't know. I forgot to check on YouTube what it was before I started recording. It's 100, no, it's not 120 something. Oh my God, Gemma. It's 20 something anyway. Yeah, it's been so long. I'm so sorry. I tell you what, I'll get into that in a minute. For those of you that don't know and have stumbled into my little corner of the crafting community, possibly unawares, I'm Gemma. I'm delighted that you're here, joining me in my sitting room, which is my usual podcasting space, in my home in Kent, where I live with my husband and my two kind of cheeky, kind of adorable, depends what they're doing and how many frogs they've brought me, cats, Archie and Kit 9. More on frogs later. Yeah, so if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for your patience. This podcast is about knitting. It pretends to be about spinning, but I haven't spun in quite a while. Sewing, cross stitch, basically anything fibre-arty, and whatever I've got into recently, any new skills that I've tried to pick up. But basically, that's what it's masquerading as. I sit and talk nonsense at you for an hour or so. It was every week. And then I went on this massive hiatus, and my last podcast was a month ago. The podcast before was a month before that. Here we are. But normal service is now resuming. It is Thursday morning. I do not have to be at the shop until mid-morning. We open at 12. So basically there's no excuse for me not to sit and chat with you. And I'm delighted about it. New viewers, thank you for trying me out. Returning viewers, I think I've said this, thank you for your patience. I know it's been so much longer than I'd planned. I'd said perhaps fortnightly, but there. I'm off already, aren't I? Rambling. You've missed this, right? You've missed this. Oh, I'm so delighted to be sat talking with you again. I am pushed for time because things have happened this morning. Things have happened, but I have sat down, I've hit record. Here we are. Let's go for it. I have got finished objects. Yes, I have. And one of them is mine. In fact, I finished two things, but one thing's already been gifted, so you can't see it. But you have to take my word for it. I finished it. It's big. And it had been on my hook for 2 years, so I was really glad to get rid of that. It was the Neat Ripple Blanket, which is a free pattern on the blog of Attic24. She's not got the simplest of URLs, so I'll link it down below for you. By the way, all the information is just down below. And I forgot to talk about cowls. Come back to that in a minute. I'll talk finish objects, then we'll do cowls, then we'll do whips, because there are whips. Oh yes. But you were expecting that, right? Oh dear. Yeah, so Neat Ripple Blanket. It's a crocheted pattern. It is free on the blog of Attic24. I've linked it down below. You will find where you can find me down below as well. I haven't said any of the things I need to say. Shall we start again? Do I leave this in? Shall I leave it in for the giggles? Shall we start again? Can I start again? I'm starting again. Hello and welcome to the Project Bag podcast. My name's Gemma and I am coming to you as always from my home in Kent, where I live with my husband and my two kind of cheeky, kind of adorable cats. I said something about frogs last time, can't remember. Archie and Kit 9. And my husband, did I say my husband? I've got one of those. This is no better. I think I'm going to leave the whole lot in. Just don't spit out your tea, all right? Don't have anything light coloured on your laps today, ladies and gents, because I can't guarantee that there won't be spillage. Oh dear. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very, very much for your patience. If you are a new viewer, welcome. This is a podcast that masquerades about being about the fibre arts, knitting, crochet, sewing, spinning, less said about that better, hand dyeing. Believe it or not, I have my own business. I am the Project Bag on Instagram, on Ravelry, and it was on Etsy, but more on that later. And I have a hand dyed yarn company but that goes by the same name, the Project Bag. As well as that, I'm also the very proud manager of the Yarn Dispensary in Faversham, Kent, which is a fabulous destination yarn store, which I know some of you have visited, and I hope that many more of you will in the future. I said masquerading. Basically, let's not lie now, let's be honest here, call a spade a spade. I spend most of my time sitting here and chatting nonsense at you. I've already done that, and I think I've made the wise editorial decision to leave the previous take in, just for the fun of it. I can't be bothered to sit and do bloopers at the end like some people do. I mean, hats off to them. I would if I was wearing a hat. I don't wear hats. They make me look like an egg. But I can't. You know, it's been a month since our last podcast. I'm feeling quite lucky that I've actually got to sit down and talk to you today. Let's not faff about with doing strange editorial things that are fabulous, but perhaps not for the technologically challenged me. And now I'm going to cough. Okay, so all the places you can find me, I've already said that I'm the Project Bag. Just down below, I will link the patterns I talk about. I will try and link my project pages. I'm getting better at that. And the designers and shops and places will be linked just down below as well. I hope that you have strapped yourselves in and you are ready for 45 minutes or so of nonsense. I mean, it was meant to be a shorter one today. I'm a bit tight on time, but I've already blathered on for 8 minutes. What can you do? So, without further ado, I'm going to do this in the right order. We have craft-alongs that go along with this podcast, as many podcasts do. I call them craft-alongs because I like them to be multi-craftual. I do not promote knitting over crochet, crochet over knitting, spinning over knitting and crochet. I love them all, and I'm quite happy for you to join in with whatever fibre craft you like. There are more generic craft-alongs that happen on my Facebook group, which is the Project Bag Club on Facebook, and there any craft goes. And we've got woodworkers, metalworkers, ceramicists, painters. I need more thingers because I'm making a listers and it's run out of steamers, but there's lots of thingers in there, lots of crafters. Ha! Crafters, that one's actually a word. Yeah, there's lots of that in there. So do get along to the Project Bag Club as well if you're that way inclined and dabble in other crafts. But yeah, I'm running 2 craft-alongs on the Project Bag podcast at the moment. The first is the fan club cowl. So basically you can make anything that is somehow even tenuously linked to something that you can be a fan of. So for example, books, films, actors, singers, time periods. We're getting really broad here, but you know, and it can be that the fabric or yarn or fibre you're using has got a name. For example, I had a braid, I have now sold it. I think I've sold it. Yeah, pretty sure I've sold it, called Mother of Dragons. And that would work for a Game of Thrones fan club thing. You could spin yarn, you don't have to do anything with it, but it's got the Game of Thrones reference. Other people are doing things inspired by amazing period dramas. We've got some Harry Potter things going on. We've got all sorts of wonderful things happening. I said last time I was linking a Pinterest board. I've made the Pinterest board, no idea how to link it. Going to try down below with some ideas for knitting and crochet particularly. But anything that you can think of goes for that. And that is going until September. We've had the first couple of months and I've pulled the first prize from the chatter thread. There are several ways to win. If you are in the chatter thread and talking about each other's projects and having a nice conversation, then every post you make obviously gets a number, and therefore the more you talk, the more you encourage one another and have that communication, the more chances you have of being pulled out as a prize winner. So last time, or maybe the time before, I pulled out a prize from the chatter thread and gifted a pattern from the wish list. Now, I'm not made of money. There is a limit to this. I think my limit's £4 sterling. But make sure there are bits and patterns on your wish list, because if I can't find any, then I can't give you a prize. So obviously you need to be on Ravelry for this and in the chatter thread. I am going to pull another winner shortly, later this evening, and I will put their name here. So well done, you are this kind of quarter, kind of couple of months winner. I have gifted you a pattern from your library. You will know this already because I will probably do it straight away before I edit this podcast, but well done you. Thank you for chatting and getting involved. The second cowl I'm running is the lace along. I love lace. I love it. I've got such a fascination for beautiful traditional Shetland shawls, and I just love lace work. It's beautiful. I'm rubbish at it, but I love it, and it was part of my skill that I wanted to gain for Level Up, was to improve my lace work. So I am co-hosting this with the lovely Ellen of Mrs. Lamb's Yarns, Kellen, and we're hosting it together. We are both admins of my Ravelry group. That seemed the simplest way to do it. Several ways to enter. Again, the chatter thread. I'm pulled another prize winner and I'm gifting you a pattern. There you go. That's your name there. Well done you. And also there's finished objects threads for the fan club cowl as well, by the way, but there's a finished object thread for the lace along. I don't think I've opened it yet. I really should. And the other way you can win is if you use mine or Ellen's yarns. That automatically gets you an extra entry. So you just need to clearly label on your post in the finished objects thread or the chatter thread if you don't finish, whose yarn you've used, what it is that you've used, and we will enter those people into their own mini prize draw and give you something lovely as a thank you for using our hand-dyed yarn. So that is Ellen's 4-ply bases, or my 4-ply or lace weight base. My lace weight is actually cobweb lace. It's 1-ply, 1600 meters, and it's beautiful. And you could do a traditional Shetland shawl with that, the type you could pull through your wedding ring. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, so get involved. It's not too late. That one is going until the end of September, because I can say this now, Ellen and I are going to be at Perth Festival of Yarn. Yes, we are. Woo! And we're so excited. So, and obviously we knew this when we were launching the, did we know this? I can't remember. We might not have known. I know that was it. We were hoping to get into Perth, and we were like, well, we don't want to have to close it the week we're going to Perth if we get in, because admin and, you know. And then obviously we both got accepted to Perth. Woohoo! I'm excited. There aren't enough days left. More on that later. Yeah, so we're closing it at the end of September, just so it's nice and simple. So it's start of July. You've got another 2 months, nearly 3 months. July to August to September to October. Yes, so the end of September, that's 3 months for you to cast on something beautiful and make something lacy. The only stipulation with that one is that it is a challenge for you. So if you've never done lace before, then quite honestly, managing some simple eyelet lace is probably a great achievement, and you should rightly feel proud of that. I mean, I know I feel proud if I get it right. The number of times I have screwed up, knit two together, yarn over, you wouldn't believe. It's shocking. Anywho, yeah, so what I don't want is, really, it's not fair if we have people who are experienced lace knitters who do something really simple and bang out a load of finished objects and go, hurrah, look at me. That's not fair, I don't think. I think everyone, the idea of this lace along, this particular craft along, was that it was to improve your skills. So for me, I hadn't really done much lace work before. So this was an opportunity for me to do that and to gain that skill. And I was hoping that you would come along for the ride with me. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go back through your projects and check how much lace you've done in the past. Who's got time for that? I've not got time for that. And frankly, if anyone did have time for that, I'd suggest there were better things they could be doing. Just saying, you know, like knitting, crochet, reading a book, spending time with your loved ones. The list goes on. So I'm not going to do that. I leave it up to you and your conscience. I know that you will do the right thing. So those are our 2 craft alongs. Now, after so much nonsense and a couple of full starts, I've got finished objects. Yes, I do. They're not all mine, but who cares? They're in my possession, so they count, right? Right, so first one. I am so thrilled about this. I have sewn in the ends and everything. What? Sewn in the ends? Yes, I have. I know. Who am I? Who am I? I don't sew in ends, as you will see later. But this, and I really need like a little coat hanger or something for it because this isn't working out for me, is the Eloise cardigan, which is a bit like a frock coat really. It hasn't got buttons on. If it had buttons, it would work so much better. But I am leaving it to my lovely friend to choose the buttons because this is actually a long-awaited gift. This is for her little girl, Phoebe, who is so spunky. She's super cool. And just, whenever Lou shares her in her Instagram feed, like her dancing or any of her little achievements, she's just graduated nursery, which is just amazing and lovely. So she's been waiting for this for like a year. So there's a real chance it might not fit. If it doesn't, Lou, don't be polite, okay? Say, come on now, Gem. I ordered this from you nearly a year ago. Sort it out and I'll make you another one because actually I've really enjoyed doing it. And now I know what I'm doing. I could probably do it a lot quicker. This was my first ever crocheted garment. There you go. I've been crocheting since I was 15. So that is 17 years. But I've done things that are 3D. I've done some loveys, I've done blankets, I've done bunting, but I'd never done a garment. And oh my goodness, can we just talk about crochet construction for a minute? It's amazing. It's so clever. It's like sculpture. You know, it's just, I suppose it's a bit like knitting top down in the round in that sense. But like, let's talk about the skirt. The skirt, first of all, if I hold that up, excuse me if you can hear my tummy. Here's the skirt. So this is crocheted this way. I'm looking at the crochet rather than you, sorry. So that's crocheted this way. And I've talked about this on previous podcasts. The rib effect, the pleat effect is achieved by crocheting through the back loop. So if I was to hold up this crochet so you can see it, can you see it looks a bit like knit stitches on the edge here? So you've got the front loop and the back loop. Now normally you'd crochet through both. So you'd put your hook under, hide my face, under those V's. If you're crocheting just through the back loop, you put it just on the one that is to the back of the work as the work is facing you, like the side you're working on. And that creates those pleats. Then when you've done the skirt, you pick up along kind of like this waistband bit and you crochet that bit, including this rather nifty kind of raglan for the sleeves. I'm trying to hold this up in a way that actually shows it off and I'm failing miserably, but can you just about see the raglan line there? Yeah, it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. I've loved it and I think it was fear that stopped me getting on with it sooner. It was fear that I wouldn't be able to do it very well, fear that it would go wrong and look hideous, and this woman had put her faith in me, and her little girl is such a champ and she deserves the best. And I was really scared I wouldn't be able to give it to her, which is ridiculous. It's the worst reason to procrastinate. And honestly, I'm so proud of it now. I had to do the sleeves 2 or 3 times and even now I'm not thrilled with them. I did it correctly. I used the right hook. I used the right gauge, but one looks smaller than the other. So I don't know. Basically, Lou, please, I won't be offended. If it doesn't fit her, let her have it for one of her teddies or something and let me know and I will make another one. I will do it. I'll start it in September as soon as I get back from Perth and I'll work on nothing else until it's done. And all these like 200 odd people that are watching this, will have heard me say this to you and will hold me to it, won't you guys? Thank you. Thank you. So that is my finished object. I have used Stylecraft Special Aran. This was expressly asked for by Lou. Her little girl is of an age where she's playing a lot, and it needs to stand up to childhood wear and tear. And it is the Eloise cardi by Moobly or Moogly, I don't know, but I'll put the link down below. And it's free, which is awesome, and the instructions are nice and clear, which is also awesome. They do little sizes for little people, like really teeny tiny people, and then they've just done these sizes for slightly bigger small people. So there we are. And I can't get it all into frame, but I am so pleased with it. Isn't it amazing? I'm so thrilled. There's my finished object. Now, talking about the lovely Lou, that brings me on to my second finished object, which is not mine, but it is hers. She is such a sweetheart. When I shared that I was going to be vending at the Woolmonty show, bless her, she offered, how gorgeous of her is this, to knit me a sample in my new spring into summer colourways, so that I had samples for my booth. Because she watches this podcast, she knows me, she knows my chances of whipping out finished objects in my own yarn in about 2 months. No, wasn't going to happen. And she tagged me in a post with by Brixton Pearl for this beautiful shawl, and the name of the shawl I have forgotten, but I will put it here and it will be linked down below. It's available on Ravelry, and it's this gorgeous shawl using 2 colours with tassels or pom-poms on the end. And Lou said, you know, I'd love to do this for you if you would like. So I sent her 3 skeins of my yarn, 2 main colour and 1 contrast colour, or complementary colour I suppose, and she produced this beautiful shawl. I've got it folded in half, but look, aren't those colours fun? And this is folded in half, so it's quite long, and there we go. Look at the pom-poms. Honestly, look at those pom-poms. They are everything. Woo! They're in my yarn, and it's just like, it's amazing. So I was very proud and pleased to, I think this is a drop stitch. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about this and how it's done, but it's beautiful. And I was so pleased and delighted to have it in my booth at Woolmonty, and it was much admired. So thank you very much, Lou. So this was done in Summer Sherbet, I'm pretty certain. This was done in 2 skeins of my Summer Sherbet colourway and 1 skein of my lilac. The semi-solids were dyed to complement and coordinate with my spring into summer variegated yarns. And it's lovely and so soft. And it is 75-25 superwash merino nylon and 425 meters to a skein. And these will be available for the rest of the summer. And then what I've got left I'll take to birth, drink, and then that's that. So thank you, Lou. That is beautiful. I love it. And I kind of can't wait for it all to be over so I can wear it myself because it's beautiful. My next finished object is also not mine, and this is incredible. I had a message from the lovely Kim of Kim's True Colours. She has been a fabulous supporter of me for quite some time now. She sent me that lovely package a while ago with the little minis of hand-dyed yarn that we were also impressed with. And she has, along with Lou, become, I would say, a lovely friend. And she has offered again. She said, look, do you have any crochet samples for your stall? And I didn't. And this was something I was really worried about, because there is this kind of, I don't know, like, there's this focus on knitting a lot more than crochet, and crochet can be seen, because of this, to be viewed as like the poor relation of knitting, which isn't the case at all. Crochet is amazing and I love it, and what you can do, what you can achieve, the sculptures you can do with it, just incredible. But I think because most people do knit as opposed to crochet, and particularly podcasters, even if like me they do both, I will probably 9 times out of 10 pick up a knitting pattern rather than crochet. I can't tell you why that is. I I do enjoy both. I think maybe it's because I can knit without looking, and I can't do that with crochet yet. I mean, I can if it's a granny square, but there's only so many granny squares that I'm going to do, right, and want to show off. And I did loads a few years ago. I had another little mini business that made things for little ones. And I did so many crochet granny squares blankets that I've kind of had enough of them. Anyway, Kim said, this is the pattern I'm thinking of. I've done one for another person who's vending at their first show. I can get it done really quickly. It'll be with you in time. And bless her, she had to contend with the fact that I forgot to get it, or didn't get a chance to get it in the post for nearly a week. So I posted it on Saturday. I think I posted it on Saturday. It arrived with her on the Monday. By the Thursday, and it was back with me by the Friday. Isn't this beautiful? And it got so much attention at the Wool Monty. I had it draped over the table and people were like, oh, crochet, we're not seeing any crochet. And isn't that beautiful? And this takes just one skein of, and this is my speckled eggs colourway. I'll hold it up like that so you can see it a bit better. You can probably see me behind it. And it's just beautiful. It is called Skipping Pebbles by Yarn and Blarney. And yeah, I am so grateful to Kim for doing this. Again, spring into summer colourway. It is very wearable. I'm going to be very careful here. Very wearable. And I can't wait until I don't do this colourway anymore. And then I can wear it. Oh dear. Or maybe I'll send them back to the people who made them for me. Perhaps I should do that. That would be nicer, wouldn't it? Yes, Gemma, yes it would. So thank you to you two for, out the goodness of your hearts, offering to create me samples for my booth. I really appreciate that. It really helped. And I was just so proud to look at my booth and see that actually it's the combination of not just lots of effort from me, but all the support I've had from yourselves and people watching this podcast and people who've shopped with me. I'm there because of you all, and I'm so grateful to you for that. Okay, on to whips. Now there's a story here. Okay, I had a while ago 26 whips. This was after the Project Lamb cast on party that we hosted before Lent, and that was fine, and I was fine with that. I was fine with having 26 whips, and then I cast on a few more things after Lent finished. It was the Tenure tee, and I'm calling it my Variations cardigan. It's not called that at all. I will find the correct name and put it there, but by Renee Callahan, because we stock her books in the shop and I've wanted them for ages. I was like, yes, I'm doing it. I'm going to knit myself a cardi. So that took me up to about 28. And then someone pointed out that the sock snakes that have been cranked for me by my lovely friend Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast and Stranded Dye Works Yarn Company for booth samples for me, were in my possession and were unfinished, therefore they're now my whips. And was it 5? Did she do 5? I think she did 5. So those 5 sock snakes then obviously brought my total up to 28 plus 5, 33 whips. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Amy, you'll all know who Amy is, I'm sure. You'll all have seen her beautiful hand-dyed yarn. But she has a Erlbacher Gearhart Speedster circular sock machine, which is basically like a knitting machine. It's in a circle, it's in a cylinder, and it's got 72 pins, and you can use it and it cranks and knits a fabric for you, and it will knit a tube. So Amy took away with her, after she visited local yarn shop day, she took away 5 skeins of my hand-dyed yarn and cranked them into socks for me. And this is what she did. So she did a hung hem, so you can see the cuff is, if I turn it inside out, you can see the waist yarn there she's used. So that is double thickness, the cuff, if I can pull it apart. Yeah, and then she cranked it singly all the way down, used some more waist yarn to join that, because that's where I'm going to pick up for the toe, to the next skein, another hung hem, and it carried on. So I had, this is 2, I had 10 tubes all cranked together. And what I needed to do, and believe it or not, this is the least scary part of what I needed to do, but what I needed to do is basically cut across here to release the socks from one another. And then I would very carefully insert my needles a couple of rows in and then pull off this waste yarn. And then I would attach the yarn I have left from the skein. This is, oh, it's covered in my hair. Sorry about that, folks. That I would attach that and knit the toe. And I could say here's one I've done earlier, but I haven't done it for the other one. Let's go with the Aurora Borealis. Right, so, and here's one I made earlier. There's my toe. And you might just about be able to see there's a very subtle difference in gauge between that and that. And that is because I thought, oh, this gauge looks really tight. I'm going to knit it on a 2mm needle, which I don't usually. And actually, it's meant that there is a kind of line where the toe starts, but that's okay. That's okay. So this one is sans heel at the moment. This one doesn't have a heel in because when you've got a tube like this, you need to cut in and do a true afterthought heel. Yeah. So I had to cut my knitting and I put it off and put it off and I put it off, and actually it was World Knit in Public Day, and Amy and Ellie and Leslie of Amy of Stranded Dye Works, Ellie of Skein Deer Knits, Leslie of the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast came down with a couple of other pals to the yarn shop, and Amy saw me working on my toe for this sock and she said, have you cut into any of your socks yet? I was like, no, I haven't. And I've watched Amy's tutorial. It's fabulous. You should go and watch it if you want to do an afterthought heel. It's available on YouTube. I'll link it below. And I bought the afterthought heel pattern on Ravelry by Laura Linneman, who is one of the Knit Girls podcast. And I kind of got it, but I was scared. I was scared to cut into my knitting, which I think is valid because it's different to steeking. I haven't steeked yet either, but in steeking, you have your knitting and you cut upwards. And it's a bit like laddering your tights. If you get a ladder in your tights, it will run up, but it won't go around and, you know, it will fall to pieces, will it? And it's the same with steeking. The same principle. The whole fabric won't fall to pieces just because you've got essentially a ladder. Or it's not because you know, anyway. But this, you're cutting across your knitting, so there is nothing to stop it unravelling. And I was terrified. And bless her heart, she said, right, are you nearly ready to do that heel? I said, yes, I am. So before we went to lunch, she sat with me in the shop and she literally held my hand while I was cutting this. So we sat together and she showed me where to put the needles in and started me off and like she had on her tutorial, and I did all that and that was fine. Explained to me where to cut or where to put it, and then she said, right, and she picked up this central stitch because you put the needles in one row and then you leave a row and put the needles in again, so you end up with like a row in between that's not attached to anything, and that's where you cut. And she's like, okay, you're going to do this now. You're going to do this. I'm like, I can't do it, I'm scared. But I did it. And then I followed the Afterthought heel pattern by Laura Linneman. And it's nice. It's got a whole sock recipe on it. It's not just for the heels. And look, that's a heel. I did a heel, guys. A true Afterthought heel. How exciting is that? Yeah, so the way Amy does it is she has you pick up a stitch in the middle of, obviously you're looking at one side of the sock. Right, you're looking at one side of the sock, and so your needles are on one side, not on that side, and then you are cutting, but rather than cutting from the edge in, what Amy has you do is pick up a stitch in the middle and cut, and then work out either side. And the reason you do that is because it gives you a little bit of a tail to work with on each side, and it stops everything else unraveling, which makes perfect sense. So thank you, Amy. And I've thanked her in person, and I know she doesn't watch this, so that's fine. But I'm very grateful to her. And what that means is, ladies and gentlemen, I have hose. I have little hoppy hose because they're on bunny blockers. Yay! So I have a completed half object with toe, ends not woven in, on brand, and afterthought heel in my Fairies in the Back Row colourway. This was originally Fairy Kisses, named by a viewer, and then I tried to dye it again because it was an accidental colourway and I hadn't written anything down, I was just playing. So foolish of me. My best yarns are from when I play around. I really should just write everything down all the time. And so I tried to dye it again and it came out a bit more deep in colour, so I was like, well, this isn't delicate like Fairy Kisses. These fairies are in the back row. Hence the name. I also have speckled eggs. Woo! Look, another afterthought heel with end not woven in. And I have grubby goldfish. And now this one, I basically guesstimated where to cut because it was late and I was tired. And I've managed to somehow make a sock that would fit my husband, but it doesn't fit my blocker because I've got tiny feet. And like, you know, it doesn't fit. So it looks a bit ridiculous, but it is a sock with afterthought heel. And also, unfortunately, a gaping hole. Not entirely sure what I did there. Couldn't tell you what I did, but it has a hole, so it needs sewing up. But there we are. So I have, ladies and gents, 3 half objects on bunny blockers. And I'm so pleased. Oh, I've forgotten a finished object to flash at you. Very quickly, this is in my peacock colourway. And this is a test knit of my old school sock design, and this is by Ellen. I sent my testers for the old school socks, I sent them some of my yarn, and Ellen chose peacock. And I sent a message to some of them to say, help, I need samples for my booth, can I borrow your socks? So Hutch, who is Dye Candy, was going to send me her sock that she's done, but she was very busy preparing for Willin, and Ellen sent me these ones. So this pattern will be out, I cannot tell you when. Basically, life has just gotten in the way of everything, and working at the shop, which you know I absolutely love, I've gone from not having a full-time job and having time and planning out, and I had all my schedule planned out based on me doing the project bag. And of course, then I get a full-time job and my schedule's just gone out of the window completely. So what I need to do is sit down with my bullet journal and replan everything. So I'll do that. I'll get onto that. But there we are. So yeah, thank you, Ellen, for lending me those. I will get them back to you soon. Possibly not before Perth. I might need to borrow them for Perth. You're cool with that, right? I mean, you can have them straight after the show. Ellen's got cold feet in Scotland. It's my fault. Bad friend. Okay, so I just need to check the time. I'm okay. I'm okay for a little bit longer. I might have to do this in 2 parts. Onto my whip board. Here we are. And this brings me on to the 3rd knit along of the year. And this is a knit along I ran last year on my Facebook page. And there's an album in there on Facebook. And so you can join in. If you're not on Ravelry, you can join in that way, or you can join in on the Ravelry group. But we are going to be having the Crack Those Whips cowl again. And I'm really, really pleased about that one. So we're having the Crack Those Whips cowl because, as ever, I've got a few whips to crack. Now, I'm a bit concerned because I'm missing some. I'm sure I'm missing some. So what I've done is I've organised my whip board into socks, because apparently I've got 8 pairs of socks on the go. I mean, who doesn't need 8 pairs of socks, right? Then I've got garments that I've got on the go. And I've put a star by this one because I'd forgotten about it. So it's technically number 32, but it's over here because all the numbers go funny. Then I've got children's garments because I've got a few of those on the go. Shawls, 6 on the go, because why not? I never knit a shawl before. I cast on the Tulamine last year and I'm partway through that. It's still a whip. And I totally want to cast on the new Tabitha Hedrick Sweet Georgia mystery shawl knit along, and it starts next month, and I really want to cast it on, but I haven't finished the Tulamine and I haven't finished the shawl for an art lover, which I really, really need to do. And I'm also doing another shawl that I'll show you in a second. And then I've got on here all the other stuff. So blankets, mittens, cowls, all the other bits, homewares, all the bits that I kind of couldn't categorize anywhere else. So at the moment I've got 32 whips according to this. I am convinced that I'm missing some. And I was going to sit down and go through my whip box and pull them all together and sort them all out. But then I thought, nah, I'd rather knit. So knitting I did. So I'm going to talk to you about my current whips. I'm only going to show you two. Because I mean, some of them you've seen because they're obviously the other half of the socks, so that's fine. But can I unbury it? Okay, the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the Fiance, and I'm probably saying that incorrectly, apologies if I am, which is in the latest issue of Pom Pom Mag. I'm going to put a picture of the garment here, and all the details are just down below. Pom Pom is still available from various places, including the yarn dispensary if you visit. I've got a few copies left. And I am working this up for our summer window, and it's a bit small at the minute. It'll get there. And here we are. This is the back, and it's a really clever construction. Basically, it's worked from bottom up from the back, up, over the shoulders, and it splits, and then the front is done in two parts and then seamed together. So to make it look beautiful and like it matches, it's got this slip stitch pattern right down the middle of the back. So the seaming together isn't, you know, odd. It's not on the front and not on the back. It looks deliberate. And then there's no sleeves per se, but you pick up a lot of rib along the whole length of it. And you're talking 100 odd centimetres either side of rib. God, why am I doing this pattern? I'm loving it, don't get me wrong, but it's just hit me how much rib there's gonna be. Anyone want to do my rib for me? Yeah, and you sew it together in such a way that it kind of creates little arm bits. You can see it from the picture here anyway. I'll put it here again. The arm bits, that's what I'm talking about there, except for it's probably there. And I don't know why my hand's doing that, because my hand will be behind the picture. Clever, Gemma, clever. So anyway, here it is so far. I'm absolutely loving it. It's a really potato chippy pattern once you get into the swing of it. I very smugly on Saturday said, I know this pattern off by heart now, and then did the next 3 rows incorrectly. Well done, Gemma. I am working this in Erica Knight's Gossypium cotton. Again, probably butchering that name. Come on, can you focus, please? Stop looking at me. Look at that, look. There's words here. Look here. I don't know what's going on with this camera. Anyway, it's 100% cotton, 50 grams, 100 meters per ball. Works up as DK. So that is that, and it's going to be beautiful when it's finished. Now, the next whip that I'm working on, I've lost it. Here it is. I am so excited about. It is Maddie Harvey's latest design. She designed it for yarns by Whistle Bear. Whistle Bear Farm have, obviously they produce their own yarns and they're gorgeous. And she was designing a shawl to work into of their yarns. It was Weavering Bell and I can't remember the name of the other one. I'll put the name of the yarns here that she designed it for. But basically it's one smooth, one fluffy. I really wanted to knit it, and she put a call out for preview knitters. So not test knitters, but people who would like to knit the garment before the shawl before anyone else, and could make project pages on Ravelry, and so people had something to look at and refer to when they were making the pattern themselves. And I thought, do you know what, this will be an amazing shop sample for the yarn dispensary. And also, I don't stock any fluffy yarns myself. I don't have any fluffy yarn bases in the project bag, but I knew exactly what I wanted to use. And so I chose Isia silk mohair. Oh, please just focus. There we go. Isia silk mohair, which is 75% kid mohair and 25% silk, 212 meters per 25 gram ball. Now, the issue with this is that, as you can see, that is not a 4-ply, that is lace weight. And this pattern called for 2 4-plies. And more than that, I could have mucked around with the weights, that's not a problem, but it's a slip stitch design, so that would have had to have held its own across my main colour, which I didn't think it would. Can you see? It's just there. So this is my main colour, and I think this is Spiced Plum or Plum Imps. I will check and get back to you. By Fibre Spates, which is dyed in Chester, spun in Chester, dyed in Chester, and it's the Vivacious 4-ply base, and it is gorgeous. So what was I going to do if the mohair I'd chosen wouldn't hold its own? Well, the answer would be to hold it double, and so I'm holding it double with Isia Alpaca 1, which is 100% alpaca, 50 grams, 400 meters. Now, the mohair is going to give the alpaca some kind of structure and body, which is really exciting because it's a bit firmer. Alpaca has a fabulous drape. So the two combined, and you can see I've chosen a kind of golds and mohair and a lime green alpaca. And the beauty of that is obviously alpaca has a lovely drape. This is going to be gorgeously soft and something you just want to put around your neck. And I am obsessed with this pattern, guys. Look. It doesn't look like I've done a lot, but this is huge for me. This represents an awful lot of knitting and me focusing on it when I've got so many whips. So, I mean, obviously it needs a good block because I'm getting a weird sort of crescent shape at the moment. But I absolutely love it. Look at this slip stitch design with cables. And the way she describes cables is different as well. She doesn't say cable 3 or twist 3 forward, twist 3 back. Or cable 3 forward, cable 3 back. She says work left leaning cables and right leaning cables. And that's fantastic because, you know, you can learn as a knitter what it means to cable forwards, cable backwards. But does that mean that you are going to automatically understand which way the cable's going to lean? No. And Maddie's actually going to come to the shop and teach her cable course, so I'm really excited about that. She's taught at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, at Perth Festival of Yarn. She's worked with Amarisu and Pom Pom magazines, and she's had a front cover in Let's Knit recently. And you may have seen her Anna sweater referenced. Lots of people are knitting it along at the moment with the Tipsy Knits podcast. But this is the Bamba shawl. I probably pronounced that incorrectly. It's probably Bambara. I don't know if it's like Edinburgh, but anyway. And it is just beautiful. I love the way that is working up. Slightly obsessed with it. So yes, and the pattern is now live on Ravelry. You can find it. It is actually on my projects page because one of the conditions of doing this was that you had a projects page for it, and I was very good and I did it. And I'm putting pictures up. And that's available on Ravelry now. I heartily recommend it. And we are going to have our very first knit along at the shop for that shawl. So I'm so excited about that. Thank you very much, Maddie, if you're watching this. I'm sure you're not, you're far too busy, for letting me be one of your preview knitters. You may have seen it happening by Ellen as well. She's also doing it. We didn't talk about it beforehand. We were just like, oh, you're doing that too. That's so cool. Yeah, we're just drawn to similar things, but she's doing it in grey and yellow, which just looks stunning. Now the reason I chose these colours, this isn't automatically a colour scheme I would go for. The reason I chose these colours is because we had quite a lot of muted tones in samples in the shop, and I wanted something a bit more out of the box, a bit more to encourage people to experiment with colour a little bit more. And so I worked with a lady who comes in every lunchtime, and she has fabulous colour aesthetic and colour understanding. I said, right, I want to use that and that. What do you think? Because it is so far out of my wheelhouse. I know that sounds ridiculous being a yarn dyer that I'm not confident with colour. I think it's a commitment thing. Again, I'm scared of getting it wrong. I need to not be so scared, but I'm loving it. I mean, it's kind of looking more golden than the lime that I was hoping for, but you know, I still love it. And it's really going to pop. It's going to be fabulous for summer. And I desperately wish it wasn't a shop sample and it was going to be mine. But it's fine. It's fine. I think what's going to have to happen is I'm just going to have to have it. I'll sort it out. Hooray. So those are my 2 whips. Now, I had lots of questions being asked. Sorry, I looked at the time. I've got to keep an eye on it because it's nearly time for me to go. I had a couple of questions. What's your whip board look like? I've shown you that. I also had a question, what was your first show like? And the thing is, I could spend another hour talking about my first show, and I realised when I was going through my phone that I've got lots of footage and photographs and things that kind of chronicle the run up to my first show. So I thought if there was interest, that what I might do, you know, pay attention to those words, I might put together a separate little video about that. Not to come out with any set time, and it wouldn't be kind of necessarily a Wool Monty review, because obviously if we go too far down the line it becomes irrelevant, like my Edinburgh one is now irrelevant. But from the perspective of my first yarn show, and share that story and that process, and share some of the things from my Instagram stories and whatnot on there as well. So if you're interested in that, then, you know, do let me know. And that's it. Ellen asked me if I had made any progress on my shawl for an art lover. No, is the short answer. I was very busy preparing for the Wool Monty, and now I've got elbow deep into these whips here for the shop. But the biggest reason why I haven't got any further with shawl for an art lover, 2 reasons. One, I took my lace into the shop for yarn tasting for Knit in Public Day, and I dropped it off the needles. Foolish girl. And 2, cobweb lace is obviously 1 ply, is finer than what had been used in the pattern itself. And I was chatting with Carrie, we were sorting something else out. Again, she's going to come to the shop and teach. Isn't this amazing? But we were emailing back and forth and chatting with her, and I said, you know, I'm doing it in cobweb lace. Do you think I should go down a needle size because I'm not certain about the fabric I'm getting? And she said yes, basically pop down a needle size just to give it a bit of substance, and go for it. So that's what's happening. It is now off the needles. It's being unwound, rewound into the cakes, and I'm going to start it afresh. And I have said I'm going to get it done by Perth, and I'm standing by that. It is going to happen. And I'm sure we can have lots of fun thinking up some sort of suitable forfeit for me if I don't make it, you know. I haven't got a hat, so I can't eat it. That's one of the important things we've learned this episode. I don't wear hats, so I can't eat them. Final words, shop update. There isn't going to be one. I have decided to step away from Etsy. The charges are astronomical. I didn't have a shop update in June because obviously I was preparing for the Wool Monty, so I don't think I had one since the beginning of May. Anyway, I hadn't had one in a while, but there was obviously still stock in the shop and people can buy it. So if I was just to give you my figures for Etsy, for the last month, I took £28 and I was charged £13 something in fees. Now that's a combination of things. That's listing fees, and they charge for the postage, which is ridiculous. They take a cut of that. They take, obviously, you list the product, you get charged. You sell the product, you get charged. And I looked at those figures and I thought, this is ridiculous. And this is ridiculous. It wouldn't cost me anywhere near that much to host the shopping on my own website. And then I can do updates properly, because one of the things that frustrates me about Etsy is you can't load lots of, or at least I haven't found a way of loading lots and lots of items up in advance and then hitting them live, which is what I would like to be able to do. Because if you say you're having a shop update and you're having one at a certain time, you need all the products to be there by that certain time. But what you don't want is people going on early thinking I'm going to see, and getting things so that when people who are waiting for the shop update to happen go on and there's already nothing there. It's not fair. Well, I mean, you know, I suppose it's fair if you use your common sense and do that, but I didn't feel comfortable with it. So that, combined with the fees, combined with the fact that Etsy doesn't work to my aesthetic either, I'm going to be putting it all on the website. So I have already hosted a bit of a mini update on Facebook, and I will be hosting a mini update on Instagram as well. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in my stories some of the yarns that I've still got available from Wool Monty. I've got a trunk show coming up next weekend or the weekend after, so it won't be soon. It might be soon. and you can buy there. I'm going to have to put my prices up. The price of production has gone up. And it's nothing to do with setting up my own website. So this is your last chance to get hold of them. So do watch out on my Instagram for that. And that is it for shop update news. So, general life stuff. Not really a lot to talk about. I've obviously been incredibly busy at the shop and I am loving it. Thank you all for your support. And can I say thank you for your understanding about my long hiatuses. Things are now more of an even keel. I'm rewriting my schedule for Perth prep to take into account the fact that I'm working at the shop, which means that I should be able to podcast more frequently. I'm not going to say every week. I don't think that's realistic. I'm going to say every other week for now. We'll see how we go, and then hopefully after Perth, I'll get back to a weekly schedule. So that's it really. There's no particular news. Oh, I said I was going to share this one acquisition. Mrs. Hinch yourself happy. 11 weeks at the top of the bestseller list. It's there for a reason. All the best cleaning tips to shine your sink and soothe your... All the best cleaning tips to shine your sink and soothe your soul. That is not easy to say. Shine your sink and soothe your... Say it fast. Come on, try and say it fast. Shine your sink and soothe your Shine your sink and soothe your soul. Shine your sink and soothe your soul. Ha! I could do it. Can you? It's lovely. It's not just about cleaning, although I am enjoying cleaning like I wasn't before and creating a home. Obviously, when you are working full time and running a business from home, things slip. And for me, that's been spending time with Alan. It's been spending time on the home. It's been spending time with friends. All of those things have just gone and gone. And I think I'm not going to get into this today. I'll save this for another podcast. But basically, I've been doing a lot of soul searching about work-life balance and taking care of myself and being pulled in so many different directions, and what I can do for that, because there's no doubt in my mind that all the things that are in my life are wholesome and good. Working in the shop is wholesome. It's very, very good for me. Running the project bag, very, very good for me. Doing the podcast, I love it. I really look forward to it. And so what I need to do is kind of work out this balance and get rid of some of the guilt I've got at not being able to do all the things all the time. It's a topic for another day. But I love this book. I will talk about it more next time. If you don't follow her already, Mrs. Hinch Home on Instagram. She's fabulous. She is having a bit of time out at the moment because just this week she had her first little one. Her baby Ronnie arrived safely on the 20th, which is really, really exciting. But her stories are brilliant and they just brighten up my day. And that's kind of what you need sometimes. It's kind of what you need. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to go to the shop. Maybe see some of you there. Who knows? Take care. Bye.